Alright guys, Matt here, hope you're all good. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Classic Blues 30 amplifier that I've been very kindly lent for this video. So the Classic Blues 30 is a hand-built amplifier, hand-wired here in the UK by a guy called David Lane for David Amplification, and it's based on the Marshall JTM 45, so it's got that sort of vintagey kind of vibe to it. It's basically a clean channel amp with a whole ton of headroom. It's perfect for a pedal platform. It's super loud. I've had a little play with it today and been tinkering around with it, and it's yeah, it's a really cool amplifier. It looks great. It's got that vintage look about it. It's been very well made. So let's have a little look at the front panel to start with. On the far left here we've got the mains power switch. Just to the right of that we've got the standby switch. And then the third switch along here allows us to run it in full power or half power mode. So I'm running it currently at half power mode because it is so loud, and half power is fine for now. But it just goes to show that this thing can really get loud if you really want it to. Over here we've got the presence control, and next to that we've got the bass. Then we've got the middle, the treble. We've got the bright volume for the bright input over here, and we've got the normal volume for this normal input over here, which I'm currently plugged into at the moment. On the back of the amplifier we've got two speaker outputs, so if you want to run two separate speakers with it, you've got the option to do so. And we've also got the ability to switch the output from 4 ohms to 8 ohms or to 16 ohms, which is a really cool feature on this amplifier. Not all amplifiers have that option, so really handy if you're going to a gig perhaps and the cabinets are being supplied for you. Sometimes you might have an 8 ohm cab, you might have a 16 ohm cab, so really handy that you can switch between the 3 different settings for depending on which cab you might be using. I'm currently running it into my Victory V30 cabinet, so it looks really cool. It's really well built. I love the writing on the front here, this sort of white outer lining. Again, very sort of very Marshall-esque looking, but yeah, it looks great. It's really cool. So I'm currently plugged into the normal channel, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, you've got the bright channel as well. Normal channel is a little bit of a darker sounding channel. It's got a lot of bass, and the bright channel is obviously a lot brighter sounding. You can see here I've got the volumes. Yeah, it's like halfway between 0 and 1. It is so loud. So it just goes to show that how much headroom you've got if you need it. But we'll start off with the normal channel to begin with. I'm just running everything at 12 o'clock at the moment in terms of the EQ and the presence, just to give you an idea of what it's going to sound like with everything set to 12 o'clock. On the floor here I've got a few pedals. The far left here I've got my TC Electronic Hall of Fame 2 reverb pedal. Next to that I've got my EP booster. Here we've got the Angry Charlie V2. We've got the Ibanez Tube Screamer Mini, and I've got my SP compressor. For today's demo I'll probably just be mainly using some reverb and some overdrive, just to give an idea of what it's going to sound like with some pedals plugged into it. Another thing I forgot to mention on the back, it doesn't have an effects loop, but that's kind of irrelevant really with this sort of amp, because there's no gain channel to this amp, so you don't really need to worry about running your reverbs and delay after any gain channel, because there isn't one. So that's perfectly fine. Okay, so we'll just see what it sounds like first of all with no pedals, straight into the front of the amp. Today I'm using my PRS Custom 24, which has got humbuckers, but I've also got the ability to split those into more of a single coil sound. So I'm going to start with the bridge pickup straight in front of the amp. Alright, so that's everything dialed straight down the middle. Let's try the same thing on the middle pickup. And neck pickup. add some single coil. Let's try dialing in some presence on the bridge pickup. All right, so dialed it all the way in and then sort of just gradually rolled it off there. So yeah, a lot to play around with there on the presence. With that sort of sound, I'd be inclined to sort of add a little bit more presence to it, just to sort of poke it through the mix a little bit more. But I'll leave that back on 12, and then we'll try the bass control. You might notice it is quite a bassy sounding amplifier, so I would probably roll off a lot of the bass if I was going to use this amp in a live setting, because you don't really want to interfere too much with the bass guitarist. Nothing worse than annoying a bass guitarist with too much bass on your guitar amp. So here it is with the 12 o'clock position on the bass. Let's dial that all the way off. Okay, around the 10 o'clock position. Back to midday. About 3 o'clock. And maxed out. Yeah, so loads of bass response there from this amp. All right, let's move over to the mids. So let's scoop out all of the mids to start with. So you can really hear there as I'm dialing it back in, it's really starting to push through in terms of clarity. So that's really cool. Okay, over to the treble. I'll start off with the treble all the way off. Yeah, so again, as you're sort of rolling around, as you get past the midpoint, yeah, it really starts to add some more clarity to the sound. So again, I'd be inclined with this sort of amp to sort of boost the mids and the trebles slightly on the clean sound, and then work that in with whichever distortion or overdrive pedals I'd be using. But yeah, really, really cool. I'm not going to touch the normal volume because it's already super loud in here at the moment. So yeah, so that's the EQ. So what I'll do now, let's add some effects. So I'm going to add in some reverb here. Awesome. All right, let's try. So here's my tube screamer. Okay, so I'm going to add in some of the Angry Charlie. Quite dark sounding, so I'm going to boost some of the mids here. and the treble. I'm just going to bring that around to about 1 o'clock, both of those. I'm going to dial out some of the bass now. Let's try bringing the bass out to sort of the 10 o'clock position. Yeah, so even then it's still quite bassy, so I'd probably bring it out to below, so I'm just below the 9 o'clock position here. I mean, yeah, it sounds really, really cool. I mean, with that sort of sound, that's the kind of thing I'm used to using. It's the sort of the Angry Charlie kind of sound. So I'd probably dial out quite a lot of the bass there. Obviously, you can use a tube screamer just to sort of, again, boost some of the mids if you need to and roll off some of that low end. But if you are just using just like an overdrive on its own, yeah, you might be inclined to sort of drop some of the bass. Obviously, it also depends on what cabinet you're using as well. The Victory cabinets tend to be a bit more bass sort of heavy. But yeah, nonetheless, you can really sort of dial in the tone that you want. I'm going to try that again with just a little bit more mid and treble. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, so even there, it's starting to poke through a lot more just by adding a little bit more mid and treble. So I've got those currently running on about, well, they're on 7, so it's about the 2 o'clock sort of position. But yeah, it sounds great. It sounds really, really cool. And again, I'm just running the volume on, like, it's not even on 1. It's crazy. Let's try that with. Let's do it with some compressions. So let's go back to some nice sort of airy chords, shall we? Let's add in a bit more reverb just to kind of get some vibes going here. So I'm just on the church setting here on the Hall of Fame too. Amazing. It handles the EP booster so well because I've got my EP booster running after the overdrives and the compression acts as like a volume boost basically. So if I just chuck on the Angry Charlie for a second. You can hear that, hopefully that's coming across there on the audio. Big lift in volume. Obviously you can tweak that on the EP booster if you want less or more. But yeah, really cool. I think this amp sounds absolutely wicked. You know, certainly for a pedal platform, it's amazing. Quickly demonstrate the bright input. This is an acquired taste on the bright input. Certainly as a standalone amplifier, it sounds really cool. I would say the bright input is not so great for plugging in like overdrive pedals and stuff like that. But I'll give you a quick demonstration. So if we move over to the bright channel. So here's the bright channel with no effects, everything back to 12 o'clock on the EQ. Quickly compare that to the normal channel. Back to the bright. So much more sparkly sounding, really sort of pushing through, you know, with the trebles and the mids and the presence, even with all of those set on 12 o'clock. So in that instance, I would be sort of inclined to sort of dial off some of the presence and the treble. So let's give that a quick go. We'll start with the presence here. All the way off. Back to midday. And full on. All right. Yeah, so I would never run the presence all the way on because that's just like hurts my ears. Okay, so over to the bass again. I'll just roll all the bass off for a second. Back to midday and full on. Cool, and quickly over to the mids. I'll just roll out all the mid. Midday. And full on. Okay, all the treble rolled off. Back to midday. And treble full on. Cool. I'm just going to roll off some of the mid and the treble, and I'm going to take a lot of the presence out and some of the bass, and with some reverb. Let's dial out some of the reverb so it's not going to interfere too much with the Angry Charlie. Now, so I'm going to put on the Angry Charlie now, and you're going to hear it's quite spiky on this channel. I'm not a huge fan of running pedals into this channel, but just so you can hear what it sounds like. I'm not going to do any more on that channel. It's very spiky, fizzy kind of sounding when you run it into the bright channel. So I'll do that again. Let's just bring everything back to halfway. And you'll hear now how much more spiky it sounds with everything just flat on the EQ. So Angry Charlie again. I'll quickly jump over to the normal channel again. I'm going to boost it a little bit in the mid and treble. Same pedal, just on the normal channel now. So you can instantly hear, hopefully there, how much warmer it sounds on the normal channel running that overdrive into that. But yeah, what a really cool amplifier. So for me personally, I'd be using the normal channel and then just dial in the EQ to my own personal preference. But yeah, a really fantastic amplifier, and I think David Lane's done amazingly well building this amplifier. Yeah, go check them out. It's David Amplification, or if you Google David Lane, go check them out. They're really great amps. Thank you, David Lane, for lending me the amplifier to review today. It sounds great. I really like it. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Subscribe to the channel and give a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.